Now hear me out. This fountain pen right here stands against most of the things that I consider to be attributes for my collectible writing instruments. And this is a valid reason why we should have a video review for it on our channel. Don't you think so? As always, I'm your host Aaron from Pen Venture. Welcome to a very interesting fountain pen review. By now, most of you know me, and by that I mean some of the taste that I use in collectible writing instruments. It's shared on the channel and it's known. I'm not a huge fan of custom fountain pens. I'm not a huge fan of vintage fountain pens as well. The pen that we have right here piqued my interest because I think it has a little bit of these two things, but how it does mix these two things and the end product, it's amazing, and I wanted to try it with you all on our channel and have a video review to share my opinion regarding this writing instrument with you all. And as usual with my reviews, we're gonna have some details regarding the whole project, the pen model, the companies involved. Then I'm gonna show you the details of it, side-by-side size comparison, writing sample, and in the end, I'm going to conclude everything in some personal opinions. Right here on the lid, we have TenPen by Letizia Jacopini. Who is TenPen? Who is Letizia Jacopini? What is this all about? First of all, let me tell you that Letizia Jacopini is a wonderful person. She is the person that wrote the book on Italian fountain pens history. And that is not a metaphor. She actually wrote two books in 1990, the first volume. She's a person that knows pretty much anything and everything in regards of Italian vintage fountain pens, and not only that, overall fountain pens. She's been in our industry for the last 30 years, and this is a person that I admire a lot. Some of my favorite writing instruments are from her, and by that I mean she helped me nail this Paragon in Arco bronze celluloid, my prized possession, a Paragon Arco bronze fountain pen with a sterling silver trim, and it's a stunning writing instrument, and she is the only person that was able to nail this fountain pen for me, and I'm super happy to always make my purchases from her to support such a person who has so many years from her life dedicated towards our industry of writing instruments, primarily Italian writing instruments. Her company is called TenPen. Her website is TenPen. You can find it in the description of this video if you scroll down a little bit. And she joined up with SEC by Stefano Constantini in Italy, who is a pen maker, to design fountain pens. This fountain pens features vintage looks and vintage nibs, vintage techniques in making them, and the final product is a fountain pen which looks, feels vintage, but it's done in our days. And this is a concept that blew my mind when she explained this to me. Let's begin with the customer experience, what you get when you order a fountain pen from this joint venture project called Anima Vintage. And what we have right here, it's the Ogiva Extra. Although its name it's Ogiva Extra, and Ogiva, it's a very, very important name. It's tied up to one of the Omas models. What we have right here, it's not an Omas fountain pen, and it shouldn't be look like one. When you order such a fountain pen, you receive it inside a box like this, and you lift the lid, and inside we have a notebook, handcrafted in Italy, blotting paper. A few information regarding this pen. This model draws inspiration from Omas Ogiva model from the 1930s, which is included in the second volume of the History of Italian Fountain Pens. We have the pen sock. Yeah, I call them pen socks. And inside, this is the Ogiva Extra. Beautiful, beautiful demonstrator fountain pen. And let's proceed with the details, and I'm gonna show you why I think it's so beautiful. Although I'm not a huge fan of vintage fountain pens, this is something that I really, really dig. Let's start with having a look side by side a Omas Ogiva, and we can clearly see that there are a lot of differences in between these two pen models. What we have right here, it's a demonstrator fountain pen, but this series is available in a number of different materials, ebonites, celluloids, and this fountain pen was sent by Letizia Jacopini herself to us in order to have it on our channel, because I love to support her whenever I can and however I can, because she helped me a lot to have some very, very nice and beautiful and rare fountain pens in my personal fountain pen collection. Let's start with the details. The finial, it's very, very big, and this is just like a semi-precious stone. It captures the light, this part right here, the upper part. Right here we can take a peek at the tip of the nib, and there is a dividing ring in between the middle of the cap and the cap finial. Then we have this gorgeous, gorgeous clip. On it we have engraved 18 karat, and the shape of the cap doesn't taper too much, and it's just running from this point to the cap band without changing shape. Then we have the slip right here, and this is polished very nice. Whole work is impeccable on this fountain pen, and let me tell you that Stefano Constantini does some amazing stuff in regards of making pens. What you see right here, it's a fountain pen made without glue. This is pointed out by also Letizia Jacopini. She wanted to make a fountain pen without using glue, just like the vintage way. So what you see right here, it's a fountain pen which is assembled by threads or friction fits. So pretty much you have a fountain pen which is done in the old way of doing fountain pens. Opposite to the clip, right here on the back, we have SEC for TenPen engraved, and this engraving features a little bit of, I believe, gold dust, which is put in that engraving, and this combination in between the gold color trim and this candy green is mamma mia, it's adorable. Uncap the fountain pen, and we have one complete turn of the cap. So this is a fountain pen which you can still use if you want to take quick notes. And we are greeted by the star nib, and by star nib I believe the nib, it's a star on this fountain pen. The Anima Vintage Ogiva Extra features a vintage nib of Omas made in gold, and this is flexible, like vintage flexible, and you will see that in the writing sample in a few moments. So I have a vintage nib placed on a fountain pen which is done in our days. These nibs are outsourced by Letizia Jacopini herself. This is nibs that are recycled, so they are super rare. I've heard about this project, I believe, at the London Pen Show last year, and she showed me a few details on her phone. She showed me what she was working on, and I was like, man, that's a good idea. That's interesting. It's new. I'm not a huge fan of vintage fountain pens, but such a fountain pen, I will want to try it because it's a vintage nib in a new fountain pen done in the old way. The look, the feel, the vibe, everything, it's something that I would want to try, and I do believe I'm not the only one who finds this fountain pens interesting enough to try. On the nib right here we have a beautiful breather hole which is heart-shaped, Omas Extra 585, the gold content of the nib. Turning the fountain pen like this, we have an ebonite feeder. The section is pretty narrow and it has this two-part right here, a flaring with a step up, and it does look good. It feels comfortable, although I would want to have a little bit of longer area right here where I can grip the fountain pen. I find this section to be quite comfortable, and although it's short, I can rest my fingers on the threads without having any fatigue, or you pretty much cannot feel the threads. Those are polished very well, and we have a glimpse at the barrel of the fountain pen and the ink chamber right here. You can pretty much see that the ink volume, it's sustainable, it's enough, but it's not super huge. But in my experience and how fast I'm changing ink colors, this is just working perfectly for me. Each fountain pen is tested out by Letizia Jacopini herself, the nib, the piston filling mechanism, so you might find a droplet or two of water. This is not a problem, and look at the beauty of this piston gliding up and down. Despite looking vintage and having a vintage way of doing things, this fountain pen piston glides very smooth and it operates very well. I tested this fountain pen, I filled it up with ink, and you will see in a few moments when we put some ink inside that it works wonderful. Right here on the barrel engraved Ogiva Extra, and again we have some gold dust which is put in those grooves. The barrel starts from this point right here, which is the thinnest point to pick up in girth, and it's slightly girthier right here, it stopped, and from this point we have the piston knob, which You can clearly see that it has just two pens, so it's not held down by glue. It's just simply the old way of doing fountain pens. Considering that everything that you see, the whole package is very up to date and the fountain pen writes and behaves beautiful. One of the things that I don't like about vintage fountain pens is that you need to fiddle with them. With this fountain pen, I do believe you don't have to fiddle with it. You only need to add ink and to write with it just like any modern fountain pen. You're writing with a vintage nib. So actually, if it looks vintage, if it feels vintage, and if it's reliable, I think it's a big bonus. And I do believe if you want to support such a person like Letizia Jacopini, which done so many things for our industry for the past 30 years of her lifetime, I do believe it's a wonderful way to support this person by having one of these fountain pens from her. Vintage flavor for a fountain pen in a modern package, this is the one to get. And it's posting. Let's try it. So it's posting, but not super deep, and I don't believe you would use this fountain pen posted because it's just simply too back heavy. Pretty much this is the details of the Ogiva Extra fountain pen model from the Anima Vintage series done by Letizia Jacopini from TenPen Italy and Stefano Constantini from SEC, the pen maker behind this project. Now I think it's time to check the side-by-side size comparison. Here we have the Ogiva Extra Anima Vintage from TenPen Italy next to a Omas Ogiva Alba cocktail, and here is a look next to a demonstrator Leonardo Momento Zero Grande Nuda. Here is a look next to a Homo Sapiens from Visconti. Uncapped, the story, it's a little bit different, although I will put the Ogiva Extra from TenPen Italy fountain pen being a mix in between a Leonardo Momento Zero Grande and a Omas Ogiva Alba. Capped like this, the Anima Vintage Ogiva Extra is measuring 150 millimeters. Uncapped like this in writing position, it's going to measure 130 millimeters. Posted, like I told you, it's not posting securely. It's measuring 175 millimeters. Capped or posted like this, the whole weight of the fountain pen fully inked is 24 grams. Uncapped in writing position like so, fully inked, it's weighing 15 grams. Price-wise, the Ogiva Extra by TenPen Italy Anima Vintage series, it's going to cost you around 600 to 750 euros, depending on the material and setup and everything, but this is where you need to talk with Letizia Jacopini. Also, let me tell you that this fountain pen, it's not limited. But to what degree? Because the availability of these nibs, it's not that good. So pretty much you will have to understand that the whole fountain pen concept, the model, the series, it's limited to how many nibs Letizia Jacopini can salvage and recycle. And that number is diminishing by the day. And this is why I think this is such a valuable fountain pen in your collection. Pretty much you're going to be having access toward a very vintage nib, a very vintage looking fountain pen done in the old fashion. It is done in our days. So pretty much you have something fresh out of the box which writes and feels just like a pen from 70, 80 years ago. Now let's put some ink, and I'm going to use some ink which is very safe and can be flushed out very easy. I'm going to use the Waterman Harmonious Green, and let's wipe this section clean off. Let's put everything aside, and I'm going to go like this. The first time that we are going to use this, I'm going to use it without flexing it. Then I'm going to turn the page and I'm going to go nuts on flexing, and you will see in a few moments. So, pen. This is the TenPen Anima Vintage Ogiva Extra, and we have the nib. This is Omas Extra 585. Ink, Waterman Harmonious Green. And we are going to check the wetness. It's moderate at best, and this is something that you can expect, and it is very, very smooth for a very fine nib in my experience. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's really, really an extra fine point, if you ask me. Something very, very fine and very, very precise. Let's do everything that you've seen, but this time go insane on flexing. And we have the pen. Oh my God. And this is the Anima vintage, and we have the ink. Oh my God, water man, harmonious green. Oh my God. And the nib, this is the Omas Extra 585 wetness when flexed, and I'm going to show you a double pass. Super, super wet, super, super glorious, super, super nice. And this is what I call a vintage flex nib, because it's vintage, because it's flex, because it's very, very delightful to use. And I'm going to show you also a comparison with the FA nib. Well, Anima vintage. Let me tell you that, first of all, the line, it's not that fine to begin with, like you see right here. Second of all, it's railroading. I haven't experienced this Anima vintage ever railroading in flexing, and it's wonderful. It takes the nib from a very, very fine point to a triple broad. It's snappy, it snaps back very, very easy. This is something very, very spectacular, and I dare you, if you don't have such a pen in your collection and if you want to get a taste of vintage nibs, this is a nice way to do just that. Now, let's conclude and have some personal opinions. At the beginning of the video, I was telling you that this fountain pen stands against most of the things that I consider to be attributes for my personal fountain pen collectible pieces, and this is true. But I'm open to seeing other interpretations of such ideas for vintage fountain pens, and this one, it's very original. I haven't seen anyone in our industry doing something similar. It also supports one of my favorite people in regards of Italian vintage fountain pens, and not only that, Letizia Jacopini dedicated 30 years of her lifetime to writing instruments. And when I see so much passion, so many years dedicated to our hobby, I want to support that, and having this fountain pen, it's the best way to support such a person to continue existing in our hobby, in our industry, to help us to document fountain pen history and to make a living from this passion. Overall, the fountain pen looks to be very, very nicely built. It is very high quality. It shares a lot of things that I don't see at other fountain pens, like pretty much there isn't any glue in the way it's put together. It's a vintage nib. The trim aspect, it's very original. I haven't seen it in any modern fountain pens. I love the details. I love the materials, which are very delightful. There are some red versions that are adorable, to say so. And the nib, it's spectacular, it's writing beautiful, it's very fine, it's flexing to maximum absolute. It's a vintage nib and it feels like a vintage nib. It snaps back together very, very nice. And this is a very, very cool pen. If you find this fountain pen to be looking like your next fountain pen, you're gonna have a link down below. Go there, and I don't make anything on this. It's just my way of showing my gratitude towards Letizia Jacopini and Stefano Constantini in order to help them get this fountain pens more known, more featured, and also more collected by all of you. This concludes my review for the TenPen Italy Anima Vintage Ogiva Extra. Let me know if you have any single question in the comment section down below. Don't forget, if you find my content useful, give this video a big thumbs up. Come on, people. Help me grow the Pen Venture YouTube channel, and I will be forever grateful for that. Thank you very much for your support. If you're looking for your next writing instrument from Pen Venture, down below you'll find the links for our social media channels, our website. Also, help me to grow the Pen Venture YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, you can subscribe right now. Just click there, turn the notification bell on, and you will be notified whenever we have new content. If you want to continue watching my previous videos, I'm gonna leave it this right here. You can click and enjoy. As always, I'm your host, Amy from Pen Venture. I look forward to seeing you next video. Till then, stay safe, take care, bye-bye.